The Sega Genesis is easily one of my favorite game consoles of all time, so I couldn't think of a better way to close out a month of Sega Genesis reviews and games than showing my top 5 favorites. Putting together a list like this really isn't that easy to do because there's been so many great games for the system. Also, I have a lot of nostalgia for the system, so there's games which are widespread better, but they're not ones I grew up with or necessarily played a lot. Even now, getting back into the system a little over a year and a half ago, it's still really hard to choose. So this list is me narrowing it down to 5. How many of us remember the surprise of the game starting right up? No title screen, no Sega logo flashing, just the licensed by screen, and then you're dropped right into the game. How many of us remember hitting the reset button over and over until a favorite character became playable in that intro? This game has some of the best representations of the different X-Men characters, and it was also really cool that in the later parts of the game you could play as Magneto as well. Gunstar Heroes is a run-and-gun developed by Treasure. It's a fast-paced, colorful, fun game with plenty of difficulty to boot, and it's just one of those things you gotta experience for yourself, really, to really understand just how fun it is. This is the game that warped my fragile mind, twisted my senses, and turned me into a psychotic axe murderer. Mortal Kombat was one of the very first Genesis games I owned. It's not the best looking fighting game on the system. In its time, it was still quite striking, and then of course the violence level and the history of that. I played the hell out of this game. I turned out just fine. Or maybe that's what I want you to think. Took everything they got right about the first game and improved on it, making it something that's not exactly platforming perfection, but pretty darn up there on the list. It's one of those games I've always had fun with. It's one of the very first Sega Genesis games I ever played. The only thing I'm not a big fan of is the 2-player split screen. I started off this month with this game, now I'm ending the month too. This is by far one of my favorite video games of all time. Everything about the game, from the visuals, the music, the gameplay, it's hard to beat. You'd be hard pressed to find something better on any system. This is one of the games that a Genesis owner should not be without. It was very difficult to put this list together, so I'd like to take the time to show you a handful of runner-up games. That's the list. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you're not completely sick of me talking about Streets of Rage 2, I've joined forces with the Cartridge Bros, my friends from the north, and 2 other great guests. We did a whole podcast dedicated to the game for January's Cartridge Club. Go check out the Cartridge Bros, cartridgebros.ca for the podcast. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.